Portfolio Builder members, today we're going to teach you how to use a spreadsheet. The first thing to do is look for 2 emails in your Gmail account. If you signed up without a Gmail or Gmail G Suite email account, the software will not work. If you have trouble locating the email, sometimes they don't show up. Here is the simple way to find it. Go to drive.google, click on Shared with Me, click on the grid. You want to show the grid and then organize by share date. And you can see here are my 2 files. Right click, open with Google Sheets. Right click, open with Google Sheets. Now from time to time we will provide updates, and in some cases that requires a new spreadsheet. So I will actually, in this demonstration, be moving some data from my old spreadsheet to my new spreadsheet, and I will also go through how to pull your trades out of your different exchanges and use the software. So the very first thing you have to do is click Trigger Data Update. From there it will ask you to log into your Gmail account and give the app access to essentially communicate between your email and between these 2 spreadsheets so that they can send data back and forth. So go through those steps to log in and grant access to the app, and then you'll be arriving back to this screen. From there, you may want to trigger another data update to refresh all the current price levels. And again, here's what that little process will look like. And this does take about 2 minutes to update. So you can place all your data, all your trades in there in one session, and then click the Trigger Update, and it'll recalculate everything and balance out your portfolio and then show you what's going on this tab. And if you ever forget where your portfolio is at, just go to drive.google, click on Shared with Me, and it'll pop up at the top. So that's an easy way to find your sheet if you ever lose it, or you can bookmark it by clicking the little star right here, and then you can view your bookmarks there. Now we have essentially 3 strategies that you can toggle between that will slightly modify your trading strategy. And they're marked appropriately. Smart primarily holds Bitcoin and Ethereum. Risky drops your Bitcoin and Ethereum by half, and then super risky drops it to almost 10% of what it would normally be. And so the only time I recommend using the super risky strategy is during very strong sell-offs. So around this point in time, when you've seen all-time high prices drop by over 50%, that's your signal to start adding to your crypto portfolio and taking on the most risk. Now I say that, but if you're the type of person who does not like drawdown, you don't like to see your portfolio go down by anywhere from 50 to 75%, then you should probably always be using the smart strategy. If you'd like to try to beat the market as a whole and get the most aggressive returns, then that's when you might consider using the super risky strategy. So I just updated it for the smart portfolio, and I'd like to just point out some of the position sizes. Let's note that the target size for Bitcoin on the smart strategy is 46%, whereas if we just look down below at, say, Zcash, the position is 0.44. Now what I'll do is I'm going to toggle to the super risky strategy and update it, and let's see how that changes. So now we can see the target size on Bitcoin has dropped to 18%, and now Zcash has jumped from 0.44 up to 1.8%. So it's increased approximately 4 times the position size on this small coin. Now we're still holding very tiny positions, less than 1% on the coins below approximately 33. So if any of these coins blow up, a bigger coin knocks them out of the ballpark, replaces their complete selling proposition and uniqueness in the market, we don't lose a lot of money. But if one of these takes off and goes up 1,000%, it can still deliver a huge gain to our portfolio. And so it's very rare where I'll run the super risky strategy that I'm publishing to the public. And it's in times like this where I'd rather own coins like Ripple than Bitcoin. So let's look at the chart of Bitcoin and the chart of Ripple. So we can see they've both crashed. But from the high to current prices, as of making this video, Bitcoin's crashed 60%, whereas Ripple's crashed 85%. So at this level, I think that Ripple is a far better buy than Bitcoin is. Now, I'm not saying to go all in on Ripple. If we go back to our spreadsheet, Ripple's one of the highest traded coins, the third largest position in our portfolio. Even in the super risky strategy, I still only have 7% of my portfolio risked in Ripple. And when we look at the big trend, we tend to have long periods of nothing. Then it slowly starts to build momentum. Then we get a huge run up in price that is almost unpredictable as to when it will stop running up. And that's when you get everyone from your dentist to your soccer dads talking about it. And then we get these magnificent 50% crashes. Everybody loses interest, says that Bitcoin's over, and then the whole process starts again. It slowly builds back momentum and then starts to take off. And so that's what we're looking at right now. We are in the process, as of making this video, of building stability. I expect this to slowly, gradually work its way beyond 10,000. By the time it hits 15,000, all the trend followers will be jumping on the bandwagon. By the time it hits 20,000, it'll be all over mainstream media, and that's when you get all your retailers flooding in once again. I expect it to rip up to about 50,000 to 70,000 in the next huge run-up, and then crash back down into the 15 to 20,000 range. And so our strategy is early on, while most investors are scared, is to take on the risk. By the time I see Bitcoin break into the $15,000 to $20,000 range, what I'll do is I'll simply switch over to the risky strategy, and let's see how that adjusts my position sizes. And while this loads, I will point out that all altcoins are doing the same thing as Ripple. And a lot of people are like, what? You want me to sell my Bitcoin for a loss to buy an altcoin? And yes, that is exactly what I've done with my own personal funds, and exactly what I recommend when the prices are so low. Now, as the risk increases, which is when Bitcoin price goes up, that's when I want to begin reducing risk, and eventually we will be hedging our portfolio, expecting a crash by using the Poloniex platform to short Bitcoin. So by the time Bitcoin is breaking past 35,000, we want to be holding mostly Bitcoin and then taking our weekly profits off the table to build a short position so that when the crash does occur, we don't take such a big hit. And it's very hard. You're not going to be able to guess when a real crash is occurring because the volatility is so extreme. You would be selling out of your position every other month only to see it jump to higher and higher prices. So when we're expecting 1,000% growth just to catch up with gold's market cap, we really can't be selling our position. We can short it from time to time on top of our long position to reduce the volatility and losses. But if you want to capture the big gains to be had, you're going to have to be brave and you're going to have to hold your positions. Now that doesn't mean we don't take profits. When our position size in column E becomes greater than our target size, that's when we take profits. That means the price has gotten ahead of the demand. The trading volume is still much lower compared to the short-term price fluctuation. So that's our signal. The software tells us that you have coins to sell. On the flip side, If the trading volume and demand is still strong, but the price has dropped 50%, the software is going to tell you to double up. And so with that strategy, we end up buying low and selling high. Okay, so now it just updated. You can see we went from an 18 position up to a 27% position. And then down here at Zcash, we went from a 1.8 position down to a 1.09. And so to summarize once again, when prices are very low, and I'm talking at least 35, but ideally 50% lower than the recent high, that's when I run this super risky strategy. As we get near the recent high, that's when I'll switch to the risky strategy. And after we've broken the recent record and we're approximately 50 to 100% above the most recent high, that's when I'll switch to the smart position and start piling money into a short position with the profits. So typically by the time we're hitting the smart strategy, we're in conditions like this where all the coins are going parabolically up. So we'll be making the most return when investing is the most dangerous. So we'll be able to take those weekly profits and buy the short position into protecting our portfolio. So we're months away from that. The daily videos will really cover how to do all this. For now, I want to focus on how the heck do you get your portfolio built using whichever setting you like. Now, if you don't like to see drawdown, even at these extremely low prices, if you choose the super risky strategy, you should be prepared to hold on to 50% or greater losses, even at these low prices. Okay, we don't know exactly where the bottom will be, and we don't know exactly when the run-up will occur. Run-ups happen when the big investors start to pile into the position and they stop selling. Right now, we've seen them buying and selling, creating this volatility, as I believe they're building up a large position at these low prices. It's only when they stop selling that we see the price rise, that we see the media start to hop onto it, that we see the trend followers jump into it, and then at the very end, you see all the poor retail investors jump in at the top, and of course, they all get hammered. And that's the same story in pretty much any investment opportunity. The smart investors are buying when everyone's scared and think it's the end of the opportunity. The trend followers jump in once it's retraced about half of its recent loss, and then you get the dumb money buying at the top. Okay, so with that said, let's now take a little step back and just look at the total feature set that this software currently has. So right now we are looking at the position manager in the client viewer, and then the money manager in the client editor. And they're actually very similar. This money manager is pulling all of its data from the viewer. So let's just start off by talking about all the different columns and colors you're looking at. So on the client viewer, we start off by having the profit, which is automatically calculated, the investment, the current value, the total return on investment, and that does track all the money you're withdrawing to your bank account. This is telling us what percentage of our portfolio, based on your current settings, should be stored at fork delta, which we'll cover in a minute what that is, but that is the sub-tokens of the Ethereum blockchain. This tells us which coins we are trading in and out using Shapeshift. They're not stored at Shapeshift, but this is the amount of capital that we're using to trade in and out of Shapeshift. This is the amount of capital we are storing inside of Binance, which is primarily all the tiny, small positions where we expect the most outrageous gains, and we need to have that ready to sell because those prices rarely last very long. If we don't sell the run-ups in these tiny altcoins, we will, in the short term, lose a lot of those profits. And so when those double, triple, quadruple, we're cutting down the amount of coins we own and reinvesting them into other coins that are not up yet. And typically I think of it as a bag of popcorn. All the kernels are going to pop eventually, at least most of them will. And right when they pop, you want to eat it and then let that energy go towards popping a new kernel next. Okay, then we have 3.5% at Poloniex. Now, when we get to the later stage cycle, we are going to be putting more of our Bitcoin capital into Poloniex so that we can short the Bitcoin market, which is the only current asset we can short. And that's why it's very critical that we get most of our holdings into Bitcoin so that our hedge accurately protects the bulk of our portfolio. And then this shows that 51% of our coins and tokens are traded from GDAX. So even in the most risky setting, I still have 51% of the portfolio trading through GDAX, and that's Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Now to contrast that, let's just switch back to the smart strategy. Now you can see we have 71.5% at GDAX in those top 4 coins. Only 1.8% of our portfolio at Poloniex, 4.6% at Binance, 15% essentially holding the different coins that the Nano Ledger S can hold and trade with Shapeshift, and then down to 6% at Fork Delta. So we'll talk about each of these exchanges and what they do in a little bit. Now if we go over a little more, this is just calculating what the maximum amount of our money can be held in the Nano Ledger S. So by the time we switch to the smart strategy, we can hold up to 92% of our portfolio in the Nano Ledger S. And so all of these coins, which are marked as the same color as this, they have 2 things in common. 1, there's a wallet ready to go at Nano Ledger S, and then 2, you can use the website Shapeshift to easily balance the holdings between these different coins. And those are all marked on the inside with the light pink color. So I know that a lot of people don't want to go through the trouble of setting up the Nano Ledger S, and they'd really like a simple way to get started as fast as possible, and perhaps they're willing to move their funds to the Nano Ledger S later once their portfolio has grown substantially. So perhaps towards the end of this current cycle, you might be wanting to actually make that change. So that's what this black box is for. We've identified how much money goes to each exchange for 2 different strategies. One assumes you're going to follow this series of exchanges, which is Fork Delta, Shapeshift, Binance, Poloniex, and GDAX, stored in the Nano Ledger. And the other assumes you're just going to use GDAX, Poloniex, and Binance, and only those 3. And so this block down here will tell you where to move money around based on the simple strategy, where you're not using the best security systems and the most intricate exchanges, whereas this gray box is if you're using what I recommend, but it's more work. And again, it's very easy to get started with this easier system where we're just using these 3 simple exchanges and then eventually move into securing our funds for the long term by setting up the Nano Ledger S. Okay, so on this column A, this is the ideal exchange to purchase from for the simple strategy. So we got GDAX, GDAX, Poloniex, GDAX, Binance, GDAX, Binance, Binance, Poloniex. Okay, now a lot of these coins are available also at Binance, and really the only ones that you can only get at Poloniex are primarily these lower coins, which I believe they have exclusive deals to be the prime exchange where you can purchase those coins. If you look in the middle area, that's the more advanced strategy. That's where we're using the Fork Delta the shapeshift on top of the Binance Poloniex GDAX combination. Okay, so that's kind of just an overview of where you do what, and again, I will go into each of these exchanges with a quick how-to on that in a minute. But let's just learn how to read this sheet. So first we have the coin name. Tether is right here. So we do calculate when you're selling for a profit into USD, we'll be able to track your coins there. If you make a deposit from Coinbase or into GDAX, those coins will show up right here, and that way you know you have those to spend. Ticker is the coin name. I will point out that at some exchanges they call Bitcoin Cash BCC. So in some locations it's BCH, some it's BCC. Number of coins. This is how many coins you own currently. Not how many you've ever purchased, but how many you own right now. The return on investment is going to be your total return on investment with all buying and selling related to that coin. So it's not your open return on investment, but rather your overall total return on investment. Position size just says for every dollar you have in your current value, this is what percentage of it is held in this coin. So this is fluctuating as the price changes, as well as when you buy or sell coins. That will make the position size go up or down. Target size. This is what is controlled from here, and these settings are all derived from the 30-day trading volume. So on the smart strategy, we're looking at the straight 30-day trading volume of each coin, and we're comparing its proportion of the trading in the last 30 days. So just right now, you can see Bitcoin represented, of all these coins, 46% of all trading volume. If you were to think of this as a solar system, Bitcoin is certainly the sun that provides the light to fuel the entire little galaxy that this cryptocurrency lives in. So it's definitely the most important, and it shows that because it has the most trading volume. When I drop this down to the super risky strategy, it's actually going to take Bitcoin's trading volume and decrease it by 90%. It's going to decrease Ethereum's volume by 75, Bitcoin Cash by 75, and Litecoin by 75. And so thus, more of the money is pushed into these smaller altcoins, which are bigger risk but bigger potential return. And again, super risky. You should expect to lose twice on down days, even up to 4 times what you see from the smart strategy. So if you do not like losing money, cryptocurrencies are already volatile enough as it is, and if you don't like seeing drawdown, I highly recommend just sitting on the smart strategy the entire time. But if you're like a lot of you out there, you want to hit those huge gains. You've seen that Bitcoin had a $3.6 million return for every dollar invested. You want to try to catch those returns. You're not going to see that in Bitcoin. It's already gone up too much. I expect Bitcoin to certainly rise by at least 1,000% in the next few years. But there could be million-to-one returns hiding in these smaller coins down here. And so that's the whole point of buying all these small coins. If we just catch a few returns that are in the 100,000 to 1 or even million-to-one return, this portfolio has a huge return just by having a few dollars invested into each of these coins. Okay, so difference, this is just calculating the difference of what you have compared to what you should have. Target coins, coin difference, tells you how many coins are short. This is the value in US dollars based on the last trading price. So it's the number of coins times the last price makes your value. Buy, sell signal. If I get bad news about a coin and I think it's going to zero, I will create a sell signal on the spreadsheet, and I will also alert all of our members via email and text message. So that's what that column is for. The open cost is what you've paid to date for the coins that are still open. So you haven't sold them yet. Total profit is the total profit generated from that coin, considering all open profits and closed profits. last price is, again, the last price. And then this is going to tell you what the value is in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or USDT to balance the portfolio. So either it'll tell you have too much or too little of that coin and tell you what that value is worth in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USD. Okay, over here we have storage options. Most of the money I like to hold in the Nano Ledger S and balance the positions with Shapeshift. So all of the coins that have that option have been marked in this color. If it's a sub-token of Ethereum, I like to use Fork Delta, which we'll review in a minute. And then if it's not available with those two options, next, if it was available at Poloniex, I put it at Poloniex. And then if the only other option after that was Binance, then it became Binance. And you can also see several other options if for whatever reason you're not comfortable with Poloniex or Binance. Most of these coins have at least 2 to 3 alternative exchanges. Now if we go up to here, this will tell you how much money is required to buy coins at Fork Delta. This will tell you how much money you can sell. So you may find that you can only sell $1, but you need to buy $2 worth of coins. So you need to get an extra dollar moved to Fork Delta. Okay, and the same thing can happen with Shapeshift, Poloniex, Binance. You may have too much money in one place, which would mean it would say, let's say, for example, Poloniex said you had $10 to sell and you had no buying to do. But meanwhile, Binance had $10 of buying to do and no selling. So you can sell your $10 here and then transfer it to Binance and then buy the coins you need. So that's what this tool is all about, and it also figures it in Ethereum or Bitcoin. And then this is calculating the difference, so you know whether a total portfolio is negative or positive per exchange. And again, this is if you're not going to use Shapeshift or Fork Delta and you just want to use Binance Poloniex. And of course, most of your funds with this strategy would be sitting at GDAX. So that is an overview of this spreadsheet. You don't copy paste anything from here. It's really just meant to look at and to give you a feel for what's going on, to watch your return on investment, etc. Now these prices don't automatically update. You do have to, every time you load the tool, hit trigger data update and it recalculates everything. This takes 2 minutes currently and then it all flows through. Okay, now we're looking at the money manager. This is where it's trying to make it easy to input trades into your exchange. So if it is negative on column C, that means you need to sell that many coins. And if it's positive, that means you need to buy it. And so this does a number of things to round out the number so that you can actually purchase it through Binance or Poloniex. So some coins you can buy many decimal places and get exactly the right target percentage, but most of them you have to buy either an integer of 1, a tenth, or a 100th. And so depending on how big or small the number it is, it'll automatically round the number to an integer that is compliant for that coin. So that makes it very easy to copy paste these different coin amounts into your exchange to make your purchases. And in a minute, we'll get into the details of how to deal with all of your past trades and a few options related to that. So that's what this is for. And again, over here, same thing as the other page, but now you can copy paste any figures you need. So this lets you know where you need to transfer money around. Most of the coins we're going to be buying either with Bitcoin or Ethereum. So it may be nice to look at the numbers in USDT, but it's more useful to know how much Ethereum or Bitcoin we need to shift around to be able to buy all these different altcoins. Now, if you're on the free product, you still have the same 3 settings, but you're limited to the top 12 coins. So if you want to unlock all of these extra coins, that's why you would upgrade to our premium membership. which also gives you access to tons of different how-to guides. And so we literally have a how-to guide for everything, especially starting off with security and the best setup. So if you're using your personal cell phone to trade cryptocurrencies in your normal laptop, that's a big mistake. If you lose your phone, you've just lost your total access to your exchange. And it's going to be a huge mess fixing all that. And the same thing goes with your email, your computer. There could be viruses. Someone could already have hacked it and be spying on you and you don't know about it. So in our course, we teach you how to build a hacker-proof setup from scratch. And in my case, I have all my passwords in a notebook, in a safe. I have an exclusive laptop and phone, as well as an internet hotspot to just completely isolate my cryptocurrency investing from my normal life. I've got a special Gmail account that has a special physical security device to make it extremely hard to hack. And we've really spent a ton of time creating all these tutorials. I'm just scanning through it so you can see all the information to learn. And if you're just getting started, really start from the beginning and work your way down. Because, what's the point of getting lucky and making $1 million on a $1 investment only to see that it gets hacked? A lot of exchanges are getting hacked. Identity theft is happening left and right. If you follow this course, you're going to do everything possible to prevent being hacked or having your money lost or making any kind of stupid mistake that's very easy to avoid. I also have a unique bank account tied to my Coinbase. If someone were to somehow hack into my very secure system, I don't want them withdrawing more money out of my bank account, buying more coins, and then transferring them to themselves. So I'm just scanning through this so you can see all of the exchanges. Okay, and then really the Nano Ledger S is our best security device for holding our coins. So we've created a tutorial for how to use the Nano Ledger. We've gone over the different software applications that are used for it, and then we've created a tutorial for how to set up every single wallet, how to use one Nano Ledger for all wallets, or if you're like me, I have 5 Nano Ledgers. And it's all just laid out here in great detail for you, so you can just go step by step by step. So really, to summarize, the free product is absolutely tremendous. You're going to see great returns that are very similar to our paid product, but you don't get all the education. You don't have access to the forum where you can ask us questions right here, unlimited questions, and you don't have access to the top 50 coins. You only have the top 12. It's not the end of the world. You still can toggle your risk levels. You can still short Bitcoin at the top. You can still do very well with this free product, and you're still going to get a great video update. You're going to see me managing this same free portfolio from day one. But if you are on the paid membership, we're really leveraging the potential of hitting gigantic gains in the small coins. And in version 2.0, you're going to have a second option where you control how many coins you have. You'll be able to say top 10, top 50, or top 500. So the next big build out that's coming out actually is going to own a lot more than just the top 50. Okay, so let's move on and go through all these tabs, and then we'll start looking at some exchanges that I've done some trades in and how to input those trades into it, and some just kind of like high level strategy for how to use the software. So the most important tab to start off with is to fill out your deposits. Now, deposits are not when you're trading one coin for another. Deposits when you're initially buying a coin with US dollars or whichever currency you're starting out with. And at Coinbase, there's currently 4 options. You can either deposit cash as USDT. You can buy a Bitcoin with your debit card and pay the big fees. Not recommended, but I know a lot of you have done that. You can buy Ethereum, you can buy Litecoin, or you can buy Bitcoin Cash. So you input the date deposited in column A, the number of coins purchased, the cost per coin, and any commission cost. Okay? So the first step to your portfolio is to fill out all of those. Now, if you have a ton of different positions, let's say you are buying Bitcoin every week for months, and you just want to have one position. Well, you can come to the Coin Consolidator tab, and let me just fill this out so you can see what happens. I'm going to put in 3 trades where I bought Bitcoin and 3 where I sold it, and we'll see how that could input into our spreadsheet. So I said that I bought 1 coin for 5,000, 1 for 8,000, 1 for 10,000, then I sold half a coin for 8,000, sold half a coin for 12,000, and half a coin for 15,000. And this summarizes it into 2 entries that can be placed into Bitcoin buying and Bitcoin selling. So I can say that I have bought 1.5 Bitcoins for a price of $7,666, and I have sold 1.5 coins for $11,666. So if I go over to the Bitcoin buying, actually this would be USDT selling, I can now say I've sold USDT to buy a Bitcoin, and then I can say that I have bought USDT by selling a Bitcoin. So before we jump into really filling out some sample trades, let's continue to flip through these tabs. So this is the withdraw area, and this is where we're actually pulling money out of our account, not to the Nano Ledger, but back to our bank account. So we're taking out of the cryptocurrency realm and back into our bank. So if we go to the viewer, this is calculating all withdrawals as part of our profit. Investment total is completely tracked by deposits. And so just to start off the tutorial, let's just pretend we were to buy 1 Bitcoin at $8,000 with GDAX, so there'd be no fee if we used a limit order, which is also covered in our tutorials. And now I'm going to go ahead and update it, and let's see what happens. And just a quick clarification, back to this example, the data we would want is the number of coins purchased and the price per coin. We can ignore this cost and this cost right here. And so the open position would be if it was bought with Coinbase converting USD dollars, then you could input that here. So we could be inputting that as this entry. Now if you did sell some of those Bitcoins for profits later on, that's when you would say that you were either buying USDT with it, and then you could consolidate that into one trade as well. So if it's used with fiat currency and it's a lot of different initial investments that you want to summarize into one, then that's what you can use the consolidator for. And so it just updated. Let's see what it says we need to do. So if we go back to the client viewer, you can see it says we have a 100% position in Bitcoin. And if we scroll over to this side, it shows us what we have too much of and too little of. Now I do want to point out that the values on the viewer are just more intuitive to what it means. This means we have this much profit or this much overweight in the position, whereas the negatives mean that we're low. When we go to the editor, it's going to be focusing on buying and selling. And when we're buying, initially we're buying a bunch of different coins. If you were to do this the way the viewer has it, you'd have to manually delete the negative number on every single order you're placing. So this way we can just right click, copy, and paste the amount of coins we need to purchase straight into our exchange. So I just want to point out that these numbers are the opposite in terms of negative or positive, and this is for viewing, this is intuitive, this is for actually placing orders, and is for being very efficient and easy to use. Okay, so you can see right off the bat we have to end up selling a lot of Bitcoin and buying all these altcoins. And that's good news if that's how you start off, because all of these coins can be traded against Bitcoin. But let's try to make the problem a little more complex. Let's say we happen to have bought one Ethereum at 550, one Litecoin at 250. The price is really not important. We don't care whether we're up or down on the position. We just care about having the right exposure to them. And let's say we bought one Bitcoin Cash for 1,000. Now let's see what it says we need to do. Because if we're overweight in Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin, we cannot trade those into the other altcoins. We can only convert these two coins, if we have too much, into Ethereum or Bitcoin. So now I'll hit the trigger update, go back to the money manager, and wait. Okay, now it's updated, and you can see we're still short on Ethereum. We're still short on Litecoin, but we now have too much Bitcoin Cash. So what should you do? Well, we have two options. One, we could sell it for Ethereum, which we have too little of and need more of. And if we look over here, I can see I need about $1,000 worth of Ethereum, and I can sell $508 worth of Bitcoin. So I might want to make that single trade, which would be done right here in the Ethereum buying. So I'd say I sold Bitcoin Cash. So buying Ethereum with Bitcoin Cash, and then I can put in, by going to my money manager, 0.59. Let's just say it was at $550, 32-cent fee. Now if you were using a real exchange, it would tell you how many coins you were purchasing, but let's just say the price was currently 550. We can calculate what it would tell you quite easily. 0.59. Oh, sorry, this is currently more like 1,000. So, and again, you would be pulling this straight out of your spreadsheet. So now I'll go ahead and update it. Now, while it's updating, over here is not critical that you fill out right away to balance your portfolio, but this is for your taxes. So I bought the Bitcoin originally for $1,000, and I sold it for $1,000. I paid a 32-cent commission, so I can report a 32-cent loss on that trade for the coins sold of Bitcoin Cash to date. And now let's go look at the money manager. Once this finishes, you're going to see the Bitcoin Cash position is going to go to 0, and the Ethereum position is going to need less coins, about 1. Okay, and we can see the Ethereum position has been reduced to what's lacking, and the Bitcoin Cash is now at 0. So what do we do next? Well, the next step, if this is where you were at, would be to go enter a lot of trades selling Bitcoin to buy this number of various coins. But the first step would be transferring the money to the right exchange to purchase those coins. And so that's where this tool over to the right makes this easy. Now if I were using the more advanced strategies, I would need $1,200 at Fork Delta, $23.98. I can just send from GDAX to Shapeshift and then back to my Nano Ledger S for the new wallet. Poloniex, $736 would need to be transferred there to buy a bunch of little altcoins, and I need to send $1,000 to Binance. So those totals are also displayed in Ethereum units or Bitcoin units. In our case, this is how many Bitcoins would need to be transferred over. And you'd actually want to copy this more exact figure. Now, if you don't know how to transfer funds from, say, GDAX to Poloniex Binance, that's when you'd come to the how-to guides and scroll down to study the exchange. So first you're going to want to watch the Coinbase tutorials, including a video of using it. Then you'd want to watch the GDAX tutorial, And then this is just a good summary of all the different exchanges, why we use them. This will teach you how to use Shapeshift and Changely with the NanoLedger S. This will teach you how to use Fork Delta with MyEtherWallet, which is also connected to your NanoLedger S. And then this teaches you Poloniex and Binance inside out. So at this point, if you don't know how to do that, you need to come study these courses which are available to our paid membership area. Now let's assume that you know how to do all this and you're like, all right, but I already have a bunch of trades. So if you have a bunch of trades, the first step is to put in your initial deposit. But after that, we need to know what you've done after you converted your fiat money into these different cryptocurrencies. Transfers doesn't affect what coins you own and is really just for tracking what you're doing and for storing all your different wallet addresses. So if you're not using the NanoLedger S, you don't need this tab at all till later on. And again, you don't have to have 6 NanoLedgers like I do. You could just use one, and we have guides that teach you how to rotate the apps on a single NanoLedger S. And then here's our current list of Fork Delta coins, which are basically applications designed for the Ethereum. So the next thing we need to do is figure out what trades we've done. Now if you're talking about inputting maybe less than 100 trades and you want to have all your tax accounting done for yourself by the time you've inputted it all, then just go ahead. So if you've sold a Tether coin, this is where you input it. This is where you put how many coins you sold. This is the commission cost. And then you tell us which coin you purchased by just scrolling down. This will automatically calculate the price per coin. This is the date purchased. Now the value of the USD Tether never changes, so there's no profit to report. However, all these commission costs can be totaled at the end of each tax season and then sent to your tax guy as an additional write-off. Let's look at the next one. Now this will create profits because the underlying coin bought and sold is changing in value. And so you have to manually look back at either your deposit or original trade to see what you bought that coin for. And then it will look at what you've sold it for. So if we're buying Tether by selling a cryptocurrency, that's where it goes, right in this tab. So you can see we have several slots loaded up for you. And if you want to take a bunch of trades and make it one trade, you can use this coin consolidator tool. For those of you who are beyond 100 coins, or rather trades, and you want to simplify your life, here's what I would do. I would sell all altcoins except for my Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash position. And then I would summarize what I owned at what price. So let's say you've had hundreds of different trades in the past and you just want to start fresh. Well, what I would do is export all the trades I can, upload it into a tool like cointracking.info. Okay, and then this will generate exactly what your profit loss is and give you all the information you need to hand over to your tax guy. And then what I would do is say that I've deposited all these new coins at the current market price. So it's going to start you off with a 0% return on investment, and you basically have cleared all your current obligations out of the way. And you'll start with just 4 simple positions: whatever Bitcoin you own, whatever Ethereum you own, whatever Litecoin you own, and whatever Bitcoin Cash you own. So if you have just too many coins to go input into these tabs, that's a great way to kind of clean out the dust, start from scratch, and then moving forward, you can really make sure you get the lowest tax obligation by using our software to track the profit loss of each trade and to use the right accounting practices to basically sell your oldest coins first and track the profitability in that manner. So if you do decide to do that, you simply put your 4 positions in here, tell the software you bought it at today's rates. Your return on investment will start off at 0. And then once you hit the update, it's going to be very similar to what we just did. You'll probably have too much Bitcoin Cash and too much Litecoin. So your first trade would be to sell Bitcoin Cash for either Ethereum, whatever you're overweight on it, and whatever amount of Litecoin you had to sell into one of these two, whichever one needed the most. Okay, then you hit update again, and from there we can figure out how much Ethereum or Bitcoin to send to each exchange. And then from there we just start converting Bitcoin or Ethereum, so Bitcoin selling or Ethereum selling, into these various smaller coins. Okay, so now let's demo a few trades. Let's go back to the money manager and let's kind of rig it so we have too much Ethereum and too much Bitcoin. And we'll start off by selling some Ethereum and some Bitcoin. And then after that, we're going to pretend an altcoin has jumped up way too high in price, and we're going to go ahead and try to sell some of the altcoin back into Bitcoin or Ethereum. Okay? So right now it says we need 1.3 Ethereum. Let's just say we accidentally had bought way too much Ethereum. We didn't know the strategy back then, and so we're going to update that. Trigger update. So while that updates, I'll go back to the money manager, and what we're expecting is now we're going to have a negative in the Ethereum category and in the Bitcoin category, and we're now at the point where we've transferred funds. Well, we'll be at the point where we know exactly which funds to transfer to which exchanges so we can break it down into all of the altcoins. Okay, so here we go. We're now negative on Bitcoin and Ethereum, which means we need to sell some Bitcoin and some Ethereum. And so what I might do, let's say this was stored in GDAX currently. Well, a quick trade would be I need to get rid of this excessive $161 worth of Ethereum. And so I might want to start out by, what's one trade that would eat up all of this cost? Well, I can see down here, I need to buy $450 worth of Litecoin. So while it's still at GDAX, I might as well fix these 4 positions first. Now you may not have your funds at GDAX, so you have a few options. Let's say you had your Ethereum and Bitcoin completely sitting in the Nano Ledger S. You could transfer some money to GDAX for free and then convert it into these different coins here for free and then send it back out for free. So that's what I would recommend for those 4 coins, is to transfer money in and out of GDAX, do the trading, and then ship it back to your Nano Ledger S. If for some reason you don't want to use GDAX, you could also use the Shapeshift website. That's where you send Shapeshift 1 coin and then tell it your new address. They convert it for you and ship it back to your new wallet. So let's just say, to start off, we're going to get rid of the Ethereum and purchase some Litecoin. That will let me get rid of all of that excessive Ethereum in a single trade. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to write down that I need to sell 0.36 Ethereum, and we'll say at a price of 448. And another little trick you might want to do is essentially creating 2 tabs for the editor so that you can kind of quickly flip back and forth. So on this one I'll look at the money manager, and in this one I will look at Ethereum selling. So I'm going to go ahead and sell, right click, copy, come over here. And again, in your real world application, you're going to be pulling the prices and quotes and everything primarily from the exchange. And if I were to cover every exchange in this video, it would be way too long. That's why I really highly recommend you study how to use the exchanges in the membership area, where we've put a lot of time and effort into building a comprehensive guide for every exchange we're using. So back to here, I am buying some Litecoin by selling Ethereum. So Ethereum sold. I'm going to go right click, paste. Well, the best way is paste it in here. If I just paste it straight up, it changes the color, which I don't like. And I also need to delete that negative anyhow. So I'm going to delete the negative, and I can sell that. The price was approximately $4.55. If I used a limit order, which is taught in the course, there's a $0 fee. And now the Litecoin purchased would be easy to copy out of GDAX in your order ticket, but for this demo I can calculate it. I just look at the last price of Litecoin is 131, so equals 163 divided by 131, and my original price, if I recall, was $5.50, so I can show a $34 loss at this point. Now, of course, when the market's going up, you would be showing profits. Okay, so now the best bet would be to trigger another update, because I know I still have to buy some more Litecoin, but I don't know how much. Ethereum's going to go to 0, which is what we want, and now the only negative position will be in Bitcoin. Okay, and this is now updated, so now I can look at a few more trading opportunities. The first I would do would be to clear out the Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin necessities. So while in GDAX, I could clear those two trades out. So now I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to go to the Bitcoin Selling tab. And let's start off by clearing out the Bitcoin Cash obligation. So it's short $39. In that opportunity to make a trade, I may just skip it. $39 in a $10,000 portfolio is pretty small, so that's not a big change in the position size, and I could probably leave that alone. But being short 2 Litecoins is pretty big, and that's a $286 position. So let's go ahead and fill that position. So we'll go to the Bitcoin Selling, and so I know the Bitcoin cost is going to be this amount right here. Now in Binance, you actually can tell it you want to buy 2 Bitcoin, and it'll automatically figure out how much Bitcoin that would cost. So that's a positive and makes life easy. So I'd really just be copying that $2 figure. So I can say this is at GDAX. Here's the number of Bitcoins sold. The current price is 7,925. And I purchased 2 Bitcoins. If we pay attention to our tutorials, we're going to get in for free on the commission side. And now we've filled that. So now after I update it, we will have filled all of our GDAX positions, and now we can worry about getting the smaller positions. So let's go ahead and update it again. Okay, now you can see we have our GDAX positions filled. So now that we've updated it, we can figure out what we need to do next. So if we're using the more advanced strategy, we've already set up all the Nano Ledger S's, which again is covered in the later section of the how-to guides in this area. Then what we would be doing is essentially sending money from GDAX or our Nano Ledger to Shapeshift, and then they will convert it into the currency we like and put it right back into our new wallet address for that specific coin. And so you will want to watch the tutorials on Shapeshift if you're going to do that method. A lot of you are just going to want to keep it simple to start and just send $2,600 worth of Bitcoin, or 0.33 to Poloniex, and then 0.38 to Binance. So you then send money to Poloniex or Binance, and now you can start buying the small coins. So I'm going to do one example trade for Bitcoin, and our Ethereum's already at the right level. So we're not sending any Ethereum to these different exchanges. In this example, we're only sending Bitcoin. So I'll just do one example of a Bitcoin to start. So let's look at the Cardano position. We need $251 worth of Cardano at Binance. And that will be 1,570 coins with a cost of this amount of your Bitcoin. So I copy that, come over here. I've got to find the Cardano coin. Paste it into here. 79.50. Now you would be just pasting this straight from your real trade order. Commission is going to be around 0.1% usually at Binance, and I paid $8,000 to get my coin at first. So now I can come over here and I can trigger an update, and you'll see I needed to buy 1,570, but now it will be good. Okay, and now you can see we're only short 7. You might be wondering, why are we short 7? Well, that's because the price is always fluctuating. So you're never going to be exactly at the right level. This is kind of like cooking. We know the general recipe, but just a tad too much or a tad too little won't ruin the food. And this is something we can adjust over time. So now we've seen what would happen. Let's just, for fun, say that we actually are going to be overweight Cardano and we need to take profits. So if I go back to the Bitcoin selling to, actually let me stay on this tab on this one. I have this over here. I'm going to say that we bought this for half the cost. And I'm going to say we bought a little too much, long time ago. So we bought this when the price was half, and because the price was half, we would have bought twice as much. So let's just see how it looks on the viewer when a position goes up, so we know when to take our profits. So back over here, you can see our initial investment was 10,900. We're waiting for this to update, by the way. We only have 4 positions where we bought recent highs or above the high, so that's why it shows a loss right now. And this Cardano was flat because we bought it at the current rate. But when this update hits, it's going to show that we bought almost twice as much as we should have, and at half the price. We're going to have a nice return on investment, and it's going to show that we own too many of the coin, which would signal the opportunity to take profits and buy something we're short in. So it's updated. Sorry, it's still updating. You can see it's running script. I got excited because I saw the coins jump, but the return on investment's not calculated yet. So always make sure to give it the full 2 minutes and for this to say finish script. Okay, we now have the script finished, and you can see we're sitting on a huge return, 278%. Our position size is 4.56, but the target is only 2.45. And if we go to the money manager, it says we need to sell 1,388 Cardano coins. So the best thing to do is sell it into either Ethereum or Bitcoin. Those are your only 2 options for almost all altcoins. And I would sell it into whichever coin I was light on. So if I was light on Ethereum or light on Bitcoin, that would be your best bet. Now, if you're already overweight on Bitcoin or Ethereum and you really need to buy some new altcoins, well, you're still going to have to convert it into one of those before you can then trade it back into an altcoin. So let's go ahead and buy some Ethereum. Well, let's just buy some Bitcoin with the same coin that we just sold. So I'll go back to the money manager here, come over here. Now, instead of selling Bitcoin, I'm buying it. So I'll go to the Cardano coin, which is located right here. And you can see I've labeled these all to be very clear. So I'm buying Bitcoin. To buy Bitcoin, I'm selling one of these coins. This is the cost of the Cardano coin at the time of sale. And this is how many Bitcoins I've ended up purchasing. So let's start off by looking at how much we need to sell. We need to sell this amount right here. So I'll highlight everything except the negative, copy, and at this point I'd be in Binance, or yeah, this is a Binance coin. So I can say this is at Binance, and that's just for tracking on your own end. Come up to this bar to paste. Cost per coin sold. Last price was 16 cents. Probably a 22-cent commission cost. And I'm spending $222 to buy approximately an $8,000 Bitcoin. And the original cost, we would have to go backtrack over here. So 4 cents. So I'm showing a $163 profit on this portion of my trade. I'll trigger the update. I'm going to pause until it updates, and we'll see we are now balanced back out on the viewer. Okay, we can see the finish update. Come back over here. We have locked in the same return that we had originally, but our position size is accurate. So we're good to go. Come over to the Money Manager. And you can see we're back to owning the right amount of Cardano and back to the point where we need to sell Bitcoin and buy the rest of these coins. So that's it. That's all there is you can do in the software. It helps you maintain the right exposure to the right coins. It lets you adjust your risk depending on the market cycle. And approximately every 4 months we intend to have a big update where we're adding more and more features to make this software better and hopefully give you guys the best possible return in cryptocurrencies possible. So thanks for your time, and stay tuned for more updates.